Weather on the go, all your weather coverage. In today's weather forecast, we'll be going over the continued Pineapple Express bringing flooding rain and heavy mountain snow across the west coast, including California. Then a major nor'easter takes shape across the northeast. How much snow is on the way, with more of those details. And then another powerful storm may take shape across the middle of the country by this upcoming week, and that will produce more heavy snow and severe weather. So if you guys are not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on all of my daily weather forecast updates each and every morning at 9 a.m. on this channel. I cover Canada, the United States, and the tropics during tropical weather season. So hit the subscribe button down below, and don't forget to press the like button. It's the thumbs up button down below the video. It helps to get all of this weather information out to as many people as possible. So thank you guys so much for all the thumbs up out there. I'm trying to get over 1,000 likes, so if you guys can help me out, I definitely would appreciate it. But going over the past 7 days, this is your rainfall accumulation across the United States, and there have been a couple of active areas. First active area is all across the west coast, where we have seen a lot of rainfall with our Pineapple Express. We had a couple areas into the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes region seeing some decent rains and snows over the past 7 days, and also some very heavy rain and some flooding down here toward the Red River, the Southern Plains, and the Central Gulf Coast states over the past 7 days. But in particular here, the hardest hit areas in the United States over the past 7 days for rainfall has been down here across the Pacific Southwest. That's what that should say. And it does look like we've seen at least over 4, 5, 6 inches worth of rain down here across much of the Sacramento Valley and coastal California over the past 7 days, and you still see those high wind watches, flood watches, and even winter storm warnings out here, where we still expect some high impacts from another storm system that will be moving in, especially as we get into early this upcoming week. So looking here at what we see with the synoptic setup, we have the precipitable water anomaly showing up with the greens out west. Wherever you see the green or even the blues, that means we have higher than average water anomalies here in the environment, that water vapor. And that definitely starts to enhance the rainfall out west, and that continues right through the day on Monday. And then a big surge of moisture with our next system. This is going to be a strong low pressure system that will be moving on onto the west coast by Tuesday, March 14th. And you can see these blue anomalies showing up. That's at least 4 inches above climatology for moisture out here. So definitely seeing a lot of water and lots of flooding out here across the west. So looking at this afternoon, much of the precipitation will be up here across Northern California and Western Oregon as we go through this afternoon. That continues largely through the evening hours. Some of the precipitation might be moving farther south toward the Sacramento Valley and the Central Sierra Nevada mountain range by this evening. But then as we go into Monday afternoon, again, that same area with precipitation will be staying up to the north. So Washington, Oregon, especially Western Oregon, and then down into Northern California, that is where the precipitation will stay for the most part through the day on Monday. But by Tuesday morning, our next powerful storm system will be moving in here out west. And this is going to be producing another surge of moisture across portions of coastal California in toward the Sacramento Valley by Tuesday morning on March 14th. And then that big surge of moisture takes over much of California, Nevada, and Oregon, much of the Pacific Southwest as we get into Tuesday evening and Tuesday night on March 14th. So looking at the total rainfall accumulation first across the Pacific Northwest now through Thursday. This goes all the way through late this week on March 16th. You see Western Washington, Western Oregon, and especially Northern California. We're talking about multiple inches worth of rain. Anywhere you see in these red or even orange shaded colors, that's at least 1 to 3 inches or more of rainfall, especially getting down into the coastal areas there of northwestern California and southwestern Oregon. Some of those areas could be experiencing over 4 inches of rain going through that Thursday time frame. But as we move down the west coast farther to the south, again, coastal California, we're going to be seeing a lot of heavy rain, even in those higher elevations in the Sierra Nevada mountains. We're definitely going to be seeing our fair share of multiple inches of rain, this time getting farther south towards San Francisco, Santa Barbara, Long Beach, and even down here into Los Angeles, California. getting through that Thursday time frame. Again, a lot of these areas will be seeing more than 2 inches of rain and probably even over 6 inches of rain in some areas over the next few days. That will be causing some concern for flooding across the West Coast. The Weather Prediction Center has a marginal to slight risk for flash flooding today into tomorrow across portions of western Washington, western Oregon, and especially northern California here with that slight risk for flash flooding. It gets a little bit worse. We have a moderate risk for flash flooding across northern California on Monday, tomorrow into Tuesday early on here this week. And then that moves just a little bit farther south with that slight and moderate risk for flash flooding on Tuesday into Wednesday. Again, a moderate risk here right along the coastline there from San Francisco down there just closer toward the Los Angeles region. And then in those higher elevations of the Sierra Nevada mountains, we definitely have another moderate risk for flash flooding going in towards the middle of this upcoming week. But also looking at the snowfall side of things, it's going to be piling up across the Pacific Northwest through Thursday, March 16th. Again, a lot of these areas will be seeing over a foot of snow, especially as you go higher up in the elevation here in Washington State, Oregon, and Idaho here, getting across the north central Rockies and then the northern side of the Sierra Nevadas. But as we move farther south, central and southern Sierra Nevada mountains here into California, we're definitely going to see our fair share of snow. Total snowfall accumulation here could be over 3, 4, even 5 feet going just through the end of this upcoming week. So definitely another surge of snowfall across these areas through that Thursday, March 16th timeframe. But going farther to the east, we have our own system that we have to contend with going through the rest of this week. Here, we definitely had some storm reports yesterday with mainly some hail reports. We had 11 hail reports and 1 wind report down here, especially into southwestern and central Arkansas, Little Rock, and just to the southwest of there for a total of 12 severe weather reports. That was a slight risk for severe weather as of yesterday. That system is continuing to press off to the east here. We got the snowfall farther up to the north across the northern and central Great Lakes, but farther to the south with the warmer air, we have more of a cold rain across the mid-Atlantic. But farther south from there, warmer temperatures and more moisture does spell trouble for severe weather going through the day today. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center has a marginal to slight risk for severe storms. That's a level 1 to 2 on the scale, going all the way to 5, which would be a high risk. Again, we have a level 1 and 2, a marginal to slight risk here. This includes southern portions of Mississippi, southern Alabama, southern Georgia, and to northern Florida here as we go through the afternoon. And looking here at the probabilities for damaging winds, we have a 15% shading here into northern Florida, southern Georgia, southern Alabama, and southern Mississippi there for 60-mile-per-hour winds, maybe some quarter to $half size hail in those same areas as well, and even a 2 to 5% shading for isolated tornadoes across especially southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, southern Georgia, and maybe even northern Florida toward the Tallahassee region as we go through this afternoon and into this evening. So looking at the synoptic setup and why we're seeing the severe weather, the dew point temperatures will be rising into the low to mid 60s down here across the southeast, especially the immediate Gulf Coast regions, getting into the middle 60s with those dew point temperatures. And that is going to spell trouble as we see an MCS or a line of thunderstorms moving farther south and east into that better instability, better moisture environment here. As we head through later on this morning around 11 a.m., the leading edge of these storms could have some damaging winds, some large hail, and maybe even a brief spin-up tornado, especially if we can get a couple of cells to develop ahead of the main line of storms. That continues to propagate off to the south-southeast here by mid-afternoon at 3 o'clock. That will be entering here southern Georgia into northern portions of Florida, so Panama City, Tallahassee, and even over here toward Jacksonville Beach by later on this afternoon. That continues to slowly drift off to the south by late this evening at 10 o'clock. Again, some of these storms will be in a weakening phase, but Orlando on up here toward Tallahassee and the Jacksonville Beach area, we may have to contend with some isolated damaging winds, large hail, and maybe a brief spin-up tornado going through later on this evening. Farther to the north is all the snowfall. We still have winter weather advisories in the purple, blizzard warnings in the orange, and in the pink shaded colors, those are winter storm warnings that cover the Dakotas, Minnesota, and parts of northern and central Wisconsin. going through later on here this weekend, and you see some of that snowfall sticking around through this afternoon across portions of Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan, and the Arrowhead of Minnesota. That continues through this evening. Again, the system's not going to be moving too terribly quickly, so we're going to have some snow showers from here and there across the Great Lakes and portions of the northern Ohio Valley through this evening. That continues to slowly drift off across the eastern Great Lakes into the mid-Atlantic by the time we get into Monday morning tomorrow on March 13th. Again, some of these areas we could be seeing some decent snows, maybe a few inches of snow, especially northeastern Wisconsin into the UP of Michigan. And zooming that in here, we definitely could be seeing 6-7 inches of snow up here toward Green Bay and then just north of the Wisconsin Dells region on up in toward the UP of Michigan. Central Michigan here toward Lansing, the Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids region. We definitely could be seeing a good 3 to 5 inches of snow here. Farther south from there, though, Chicago to Indianapolis, and then over here toward Toledo, Ohio, we're more likely to get maybe an inch or less out of most of this going through Tuesday morning. Farther to the east, again, across the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, a few inches of snow are possible, especially in the eastern New York State, getting down through the spine of the Appalachians here towards central Pennsylvania and West Virginia. Maybe a 1 to 3 inch snowfall event for you going through that Monday evening and Tuesday morning time frame. But as this system continues to move off the coast here, we're going to see it re-strengthen as it moves over the warm waters of the western Atlantic as we go into Monday afternoon here tomorrow on the 13th. And that's going to move up the coastline very slowly and deepen to a 978 millibar low. And on the colder side of the system here, on the northwestern side, we're going to see some very heavy snowfall and even a mix of rain and snow right along and southeast of the I-95 corridor by Tuesday morning. That continues with the very heavy snow from Boston to New York City as we head into Tuesday evening. And then by Wednesday morning, we'll start to see the system start to slowly move off to the east and the moisture start to lessen with this, but still some lingering snow showers across Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, and portions of eastern Massachusetts, including Cape Cod, as we head into Wednesday morning. And then finally by Thursday morning late this week on the 16th, we're going to finally see the storm move farther off to the east, and we'll say goodbye to the major nor'easter here in the northeast snowstorm by then. So looking at our total snowfall accumulation, and again, early estimates, we'll be having a finalized snowfall accumulation map for you tomorrow, but it does look like we're going to see over a foot of snow in many of these areas across New York State, much of Massachusetts, southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire, portions there of northern Connecticut, and even over 6 inches of snow. That extends farther south into Rhode Island, northern New Jersey, northeastern portions of Pennsylvania, and then on up through especially coastal Maine into central Maine there. Definitely seeing over 6 inches in a lot of those areas, really centered on that Tuesday, March 14th into Wednesday, March 15th timeframe. So get the shovels, the snow blowers, and the plows ready. We're definitely going to need them across the Northeast, including the I-95 corridor from Boston to New York City by the time we get into the middle of the week. But then our next storm system will be moving in across the middle of the country by the late portion of this upcoming week on Thursday, March 16th. A warm side of the system will be, again, very, very far reaching from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up through the upper Midwest. Maybe a snowfall side, a narrow snow zone from Minnesota down through the Dakotas, central and western Nebraska, and perhaps down here toward the front range of the Rockies. That will continue to move to the north and east. Again, a very wide reaching warm sector with this system from the Great Lakes all the way down through the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, and the Gulf Coast will assure us with some very heavy rainfall. But the snowfall side will be up here across Minnesota, where we've seen the snow all season, into northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan, and down here into perhaps northern Iowa by that Friday, March 17th timeframe. That will continue propagating to the north and east. Again, all rain across much of the Northeast, the I-95 corridor, and the East Coast down to Florida by the time we get into next weekend on Saturday, March 18th. This system will be producing some heavy rain, so anywhere you see the darker or even lighter color blues, that's at least a half an inch to an inch of rain, and with the heaviest of the rains down here across the Arklatex regions from eastern Oklahoma, eastern portions of Texas, Arkansas, down into northwestern Louisiana, but even some of the heavier rains extending all the way up into the central Great Lakes states on that Thursday into Friday time frame. And that, again, with the heavier rains down across the Arklatex from central Arkansas near Little Rock down toward the I-20 corridor here in Dallas-Fort Worth and even Texarkana, we definitely could be concerned about some flash flooding during that Thursday into Friday time frame. That's a marginal risk for flash flooding. We'll keep an eye on that. But then that system pushes off to the east on Friday into Saturday by early next weekend, and that will be spelling out more heavy rain for portions of the central Gulf Coast states in the southeast. Many of these areas that have seen heavy rain over and over and over again here this season will see more heavy rain from Atlanta down through Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, even the Hattiesburg region, New Orleans, all these areas, even over toward Tallahassee, Panama City. You'll be seeing some heavy rainfall into that Friday, March 17th and Saturday, March 18th timeframe. Anywhere from about 1 to 2 inches can be expected, but generally about a quarter to half an inch of rain across most of the East Coast, including the I-95 corridor as we get in towards next weekend. The system is concerning for a little bit of a threat for severe weather. Again, that 500 millibar mid-level jet stream is going to be right overhead the Arklatex regions in the southern plains by this upcoming Thursday, and already looking at some of the longer range severe weather guidance indicating maybe a lower end threat, maybe a marginal to slight risk type of day across portions of eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas, getting into northwestern Louisiana, and especially down here into northeast Texas toward the DFW Metroplex in Dallas-Fort Worth by the time we get into that Thursday, March 16th timeframe. So this will be the time to watch out for maybe some isolated severe weather with damaging winds, large hail, and maybe a brief spin-up tornado as we have that mid-level jet moving right over those areas with all of that wind energy. So to recap my weather forecast for you guys, a Pineapple Express with very heavy flooding rain, heavy mountain snow across the West Coast, including California, will continue through this upcoming week with many storms moving across the West Coast. A major nor'easter will bring very heavy snow across much of the Northeast, including the I-95 corridor. Some areas could see over a foot of snow through this upcoming week. And then another powerful storm takes shape this upcoming week as well, with heavy snow, heavy rain, and possibly at least some isolated severe weather across portions of the deep south and the southern plains by the time we get towards late this upcoming week. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. If you guys liked the video, press the thumbs up button down below. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecasts updates on this channel. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody, and I'll see you all in the next video.